and welcome back to my kitchen. But in case this is the first time you're stopping by, my name is Gina and I'm a wife and mother from the Midwest, and I enjoy cooking fresh meals for my family and sharing the recipes here on YouTube. That was a lot of words. Welcome to my channel if this is the first time you're stopping by. I am going to be sharing a recipe for Christmas crack today, which is basically a simple toffee coated layer of saltine crackers that ends up getting smothered in chocolate. So this is a very simple beginner level recipe if you're not very comfortable with baking, but it's so delicious and it ends up looking pretty cute when it's done. So it's definitely something that you could bag and give as gifts, or like me, send it to your husband's work. I guess without further ado, let's just jump into the ingredients because this is so easy. So we are going to be using a package, or the recipe calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips. I prefer to use semi-sweet or dark chocolate chips just because the toffee is very sweet, and I just feel like it pairs better. But you can feel free to use milk chocolate if you prefer. We're going to be using about a package of saltine crackers. I prefer the ones with the salted tops, and I will explain why later. We're going to be using a whole cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. Again, I am using salted butter. I have said this before in most of my recipes that I am baking in, I use salted butter. I know that that's not the norm, but I prefer the sweet and salty bite of things in baking. I think it's delicious, but if you want to be traditional, go with regular butter. We are going to be adding in a little bit of additional salt to the caramel layer. We're going to need some vanilla. I don't know what vanilla is because that's what I was going to say. Vanilla. This is not a good kind of vanilla. Unfortunately, vanilla is so expensive here, and with all of the baking that I've been doing, I kind of needed to just have something that would last a while instead of spending like $11 on a small vanilla. So if you can, get good vanilla. You're going to need some brown sugar, and it doesn't matter if it's light brown sugar or dark brown sugar. Use whatever you have. And then lastly, to decorate it, you can decorate it with nothing, or you can sprinkle chopped pecans or any kind of nut you like on top. I happen to have these really cute little Christmas sprinkles, so I'm not going to put too many on there because I'm not a huge fan of sprinkles, like the texture. Like, I feel like you could bust a tooth. Like, if you don't know a sprinkle's going to be there and you get it wrong on like the buccal cusp of your tooth, and shazam, like you could have a cracked tooth. Anyways, but I do want it to look cute, so I'll dust it with a little bit of this. So the first thing we're going to do is make our toffee or our caramel, and don't let that deter you. I know that a lot of recipes that call for homemade caramel are kind of difficult because you have to have a food thermometer and you have to watch the temperature and know about like soft ball stage and all that stuff. But this is like really not like that. It's so easy. So I'll meet you back in a second. I'm going to go ahead and get our butter in the pot. All right, kitchen friends. So the first thing that I did is I went ahead and I preheated my oven to 350. I tossed my sticks of butter in a small saucepan. I have it over medium heat. Mine were frozen because I'm weird and I keep like everything in the freezer, and I never remember to defrost stuff. So these just went in the pan. They're frozen. If your butter was not frozen, you could throw the butter and the sugar and everything together right away. But I didn't have any defrosted. Sorry, I just slammed my cabinets like a weirdo. Defrosted butter. So this is melting. Here's a regular half sheet pan, like a baking sheet, and I've covered it with foil. And then I took some butter on a napkin and just lightly greased the foil. I think that's a little bit extra. You could totally use a Silpat, or spray it with some Pam, or if you're using the heavy duty foil, which mine is just like this here regular Reynolds wrap. We're gonna have to like peel the foil back on certain ones, and you don't want it to be serving people Christmas crack with little pieces of tin foil in it. So I greased that up. Let me go ahead and just wait for this to finish melting, and I'll be back with our measurements of sugar and salt, because those will be our next things that go in the pot. Okay guys, so our butter is melted. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit because I just scrubbed my stove really nice today, and I'm not trying to have butter all over it, right? Next thing that we have, I love how I talk to you guys now like you're actually here. Next thing we have is a strange looking, what does that look like, guys? It have a cup of brown sugar, which is packed, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt right in the middle there. And I'm going to try to dump this in without, there we go, making a mess. So now what we're gonna do is whisk the brown sugar together until it's a homogeneous mixture. And normally in caramel making, which I cannot like speak for because I've never actually done it, but I have seen it on cooking shows, you have to be very careful. You have to know about candy making and about like how you can drop the caramel into water, and if it makes a soft ball, it's ready, or you have to have a thermometer. But this is just not a traditional caramel or toffee. This is kind of like a down-home Susie homemaker version. I'm going to turn this back up now that we're getting mixed together. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to boil it on a rolling boil like 3 or 4 minutes, or until everything has just come together and it's slightly darkened in color. So while that happens, I'm going to go ahead and line our baking sheet. I always have trouble with our and our. Like, I know what to say. I know what the grammatically correct one is, but my mouth just wants to say different ones all the time. Anyways, I'm going to line our baking sheet with our graham crackers, with our saltine crackers, and I am going to put them with salt side down. And this is very important to me, like, because like when I eat stuff, if there's a salted side of a cracker, like I put that tongue side down. I mean, I want to be in contact with those grains of salt. I don't know about you guys. So if you're crazy like me and you really like salty and sweet, do yourself the favor and make sure you're putting your crackers with the salt side touching the aluminum foil. So when you bite it, it's going to go on your tongue. All right, I'll be back in a sec, guys. All right, so I have turned off the heat on our toffee, caramel, whatever you're choosing to call it. This is the consistency you're looking for. So it has thickened up. While it's boiling for a moment, it'll stay separated, and you'll think like, oh, this is gonna seize. And by seize, I mean like harden up and ooh, see what I'm doing here? And not be correct, but it actually ends up coming together rather quickly. Once you see it is like not greasy looking anymore and it looks like caramel, turn off your heat. I've got our crackers here. I actually ended up taking like another quarter of a package out. This is the first time I'm making this on this sheet pan, so it might just be a little bit larger than the last one that I did. And if so, that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and like spread it out to like this layer and see if I have enough to cover it. And if I don't, I'll just remove this last layer of crackers because we just want to make sure that they're nice and juicy and that they have enough toffee on there for it to be good. And this is what I meant. So as you can see, the salty side, like the tops of the crackers with the salt are face down. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the whisk and drizzle the caramel over our baking sheet, and then let's find an offset spatula so I can show it to you just in case you guys don't know. Here we go. And then I'm going to use this offset spatula, which is really nice and easy because of the way it's formulated. So if you've got that, pull it out to spread everything out nice and even, and I'll be back to tell you how long we bake this. All right, guys, so it actually ended up being just enough. It's perfect, and this smells so good to me. The smell of this type of toffee or caramel reminds me of when I was a kid and like my mom would like make something similar to put over popcorn as like a special treat when we didn't have something fancy in the house, because I grew up in one of those houses where like you had to have something sweet after dinner, even if it was just a bite. And those were really good memories I have with my mom, and I love her and she's great. And I just wanted to say that. So also I just wanted to mention that you need to work quickly. As you can see here, like I'm trying to show you, that's why I left this uncovered. It will start to harden up on you. So you've got to pour it and spread it pretty decently fast because you don't want to have areas that aren't coated. Anyways, our oven's heated to 350. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in for 5 minutes. And then we're going to turn off the heat. And we are going to sprinkle the chocolate chips on top very quickly. So the next part of this is going to go kind of fast, guys. Oh my gosh, guys. I am such a dingus. I forgot to put the vanilla in the caramel. Like, so anyways, while the caramel, after it had finished boiling and when it was ready set, I was supposed to add in a whole teaspoon of vanilla. I just tasted it. It tastes great. Nobody's probably going to notice the difference, but I did want to mention it to you so you can make the decision whether or not you want to forget it in your recipe. I do find that it does elevate the flavor. Traditional caramels do have vanilla in them, so feel free to do your preference there, but definitely forgot to add the vanilla. Sorry, guys. All right, guys, our timer is about to go off here, so I'm going to turn it off and turn off the heat on my oven. I've got my chocolate chips in a bowl so I can dump them out easy. I'm using a whole bag, which is like just a little bit over. You know what, guys? I want this to go an extra minute. It's not all bubbly enough yet. I'm gonna put 2 more minutes on it. See, I'm honest with you guys. This is real. Check it out. All right, this is what we wanted. See how everything's nice and bubbly? That means that our sugar is going to be nice and smooth, and it's going to be toffee consistency. So let's turn off everything. And then I'm going to pull this out, and I am going to sprinkle the chocolate chips on top of this layer. Guys, this is a little hot. Give me just 1 second to close everything off. Okay, it's literally been 2 seconds, and you can see all of the bubbles have started to calm down. I'm going to sprinkle the chocolate chips on the top here. I would normally just do this right in the oven, but that was going to be too dangerous while I was trying to film with one hand in any case. And I love you guys, but I've already gotten burned and cut several times by trying to do one-handed shit. So that would be my tip, would be to definitely do this in the oven. But anyways, let me sprinkle this. I'm going to return it to the oven for 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll start checking it to see when we can spread our chocolate chips. All right, guys, so I set a timer for 3 minutes just to see how long it would be exactly. But what you're looking for is, I don't know if you can tell from here, our chocolate chips are now becoming glossy, which means that they might be ready to spread. So I'm just gonna test and see. Almost, but no cigar. I'm gonna leave it for the full 3, maybe 4 minutes, and I'll bring her out and we'll spread it and decorate it. All right, guys, I'm a little bit ticked off right now, actually, because I've never made this with Toll House chocolate chips, and I usually bake with the Ghirardelli ones just because they taste better, but Toll House ones were on sale because it's Christmas and people are doing a lot of baking, and I bought them, and they must have something in them that doesn't allow them to melt properly like real chocolate, because I had kept these in the oven for an abundance of time to the point where they were getting kind of chalky on some of them, as if they were being burned. And spreading this out was like a living hell. Like I had to kind of squish them. So I ended up having some Ghirardelli, like a half of a bag saved from another recipe. So I'm just going to melt this, and I'm going to put it over the top so it looks better, and hope that it, I mean, it'll taste good no matter what, but I was going to send this to Daniel's work, so we shall see. Oh yeah, guys, this is way, way better. So I just melted, as you can see, probably about 3/4 of a cup of Ghirardelli chocolate chips. Normally, I would just sprinkle them right over the pan like I did with this recipe for you, and it works fine. They melt so nicely, velvety, buttery, but I actually Googled it in the interim while I was melting, and apparently Nestle Toll House chocolate chips have an ingredient in them that is meant to help the chocolate chips keep their shape. So absolutely do not use Nestle Toll House chocolate chips if you're making this recipe, unless you wanted to melt them beforehand in a bowl. I'm going to mention this at the beginning of the recipe in a voiceover clip, just so nobody like goes out and buys them and then realizes like, oh, and makes the same mistake as I did, because that would be pretty disappointing. I'm still hoping that these taste okay, because a couple of the chocolate chips, I tried to remove them, did seem to get burned because I had to leave them in the oven to try to melt them so aggressively, but I think we're gonna be okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and decorate the top of these, and I'll show you what it looks like before I put it in the fridge. Alright guys, so this is what ours looks like. I went ahead and sprinkled on probably about a quarter cup of crunched up, let's see if you can see, yeah, there we go. A cup of crunched up pecans on top. I just kind of smashed them with a meat tenderizer in the bag, so that's why there's such a difference in shape and size of them. And then I just kind of sprinkled on some red and green sprinkles to make it festive. I'm going to let this cool on top of the stove for a moment because the pan is a little bit hot to put in the refrigerator downstairs. But once it gets down to, you know, handleable where you can pick it up and it's not too hot, go ahead and refrigerate this overnight. If your chocolate is solid, you can cover it, but I'm just not going to cover it. I have an empty fridge downstairs that I use for just like cakes and stuff. And in the meantime, you can lick all of your utensils now that everything's done, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Alright guys, it is super sad, but this is all I have to show you because I totally forgot that I was making a video, and I put all of the rest of our Christmas crack in a Tupperware and sent it to Daniel's work. But as you can see, I went ahead and I peeled it off of the foil and I sliced it up into squares. You can break it with your fingers and make it like rustic chunks if you prefer, but I like it to be cut up, and this is so freaking good. It is buttery, chocolatey, sweet, salty. It is everything that is right in the world. So definitely give this a try if you've never had it or made it. I'm going to go ahead and sign off because it is nap time, and I'm about to eat a piece of this right now, and I definitely don't want to wake up the girls. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you liked it, consider subscribing. I sincerely appreciate you guys watching and hope you have a great day. Peace out.